On 7:30 South Australia, a mother's fight for answers over her daughter's death.
I really couldn't believe it. So beautiful. She's so beautiful.
Watermains CSI, the men who investigate when pipes go bad.
This is the section that's probably most affected by corrosion.
And the hard-working people behind Sideshow Alley.
For the amount of work that is involved with all showmen in this business, we all should be millionaires.
Hello and thanks for joining us for 7:30 South Australia. I'm Simon Royal. 8 years ago, a young mother died in the Lower McEwen Hospital from complications arising from a connective tissue disorder. Although the coroner has decided against an inquest, her family believes important questions remain unanswered, and they argue for the need for a full investigation and the education of medical staff. Mike Sexton reports.
She told everyone, every nurse, every doctor, every ambulance officer that she ever saw. Yeah, she knew the dangers.
Lisa Howard Smith was born with a connective tissue disorder. In layman's terms, it's as if the glue that holds the body's tissues together isn't sticky enough. Her mother, Trish Carey, noticed physical abnormalities within weeks of her birth that continued as she grew.
Scoliosis of the spine. She had really long fingers and really long toes. When she walked, her knees knocked, and you could tell, you know, she didn't walk like everybody else.
The skeletal abnormalities were consistent with the most common connective tissue disorder called Marfan syndrome.
You gotta take all your emotions.
The late Vincent Chiavelli made a career as a character actor out of the way Marfan syndrome made him look.
And then let it explode like a reactor.
For those with the condition, the physical signs are the easiest way of being diagnosed. While these symptoms can cause everything from discomfort to disability, the real threat is internal.
In addition to the outward physical characteristics, people with Marfan syndrome are at risk of a tear or rupture of their aorta, the large artery that takes blood away from the heart. This is usually fatal.
Lisa Howard Smith knew all of this, which is why when she was shopping with her son Clay in 2004 and felt stomach pains, she went straight to her GP, who called an ambulance that took her to the Lower McEwen Hospital.
They gave her heaps of morphine, like I think it was 22.5 milligrams of morphine in, you know, like from 2 o'clock till 9 o'clock at night, which is a pretty large dose. And with Marfan syndrome, the pain shouldn't be masked. She needed to be able to be aware of where that pain was and explain to the doctors.
What happened next is something Trish Carey has never been able to find a reason for. Before midnight, her daughter left or was discharged, apparently without anyone from the hospital taking note.
There's no record of her being sent home on her medical notes. The only thing that's written there was at around 10 o'clock that night that Lisa wasn't in her room.
Just before sunrise, Lisa Howard Smith returned to the hospital again in severe pain. Doctors believe part of her gut had died from a lack of blood flow and scheduled emergency surgery. Trish Carey was on her way from New South Wales to see her daughter.
I received a call from the hospital, a doctor at the hospital. He didn't get his name. All he said was, your daughter's going to die, and your daughter's dying and she's not going to live very long.
The next morning, Lisa Howard Smith died of a dissection of the aorta and its complications. She was 28.
I really couldn't believe it. So beautiful. She's so beautiful.
From the moment her daughter died, Trish Carey began investigating what happened, including why an ambulance officer's note about Marfan syndrome was ignored or lost by hospital staff, and that a post-mortem toxicology report showed a lethal concentration of codeine in her daughter's system. She asked several doctors to examine the medical notes, including Malcolm West, who's both Professor of Medicine at the University of Queensland and a specialist in connective tissue disorders. He believes there were a number of significant errors of judgment by hospital staff.
there were problems with the way this case was managed. There are excessive delays. The institution of management was also delayed, and I think that the possibility of aortic aneurysm dissection was not really recognised in this young lady.
Professor West says it's difficult to say if appropriate management would have prevented her death.
The particular complications associated with dissection of the aorta and an occlusion of the vessels to the various organs of the abdomen, it's very difficult procedures to undertake, and so that's really, you know, just theoretical whether it would have helped. But we do know from other cases, we've had cases in this hospital in Brisbane with similar problems where patients have been saved.
Since her daughter's death, Trish Carey's focus has been on caring for her grandson, but she's also raised awareness of connective tissue disorders. Among other things, she's walked from Adelaide to Canberra, along the way talking to anyone interested.
All the way I stopped and spoke to hospitals, I spoke to a few doctors, but I spoke to people on the street in every town we went through.
Malcolm West runs a research unit looking at connective tissue disorders and believes Trish Carey's work is part of a much-needed education campaign for medical professionals.
General practitioners are important because once a patient is identified, one needs to look for the similar condition in first-degree relatives, in their brothers and sisters and children.
What Trish Carey really wants is an inquiry into her daughter's death. This year, SA Health paid her and her grandson $230,000, but the settlement was made with a clause denying liability and is not to be used in any way as an admission. Trish Carey says she accepted the payout to cover medical and legal expenses, but still feels the hospital has a case to answer. After gathering information about the case, the coroner decided against holding an inquest. After further expert opinion was provided by Trish Carey, the decision again was not to hold an inquest.
Had he held an inquest, had the potential to change things at the Lower McEwen Hospital. He also had the potential to raise awareness of Marfan syndrome. I don't want what happened to me and what's been happening to me for the last almost 8 years. I don't want that to happen to someone else. It's destroyed my life.
In a statement to 7:30, the hospital general manager Brett Thompson expressed deepest condolences to Lisa Howard-Smith's family. Mr Thompson says over the past few years many improvements have been made at the Lowell McEwen Hospital, including the redevelopment of the emergency department with more robust systems and greater technology, medical records being stored on site with revised archiving processes and improved reporting systems. Trish Carey says she will never fully recover from the loss of her daughter, and she has a permanent memorial of her on her wrist. The tattoo was a Christmas present from her grandson and a reminder to make her death mean something.
When Clay grows up, I don't want Clay to think, why did my nan let this happen? I want Clay to know. Sorry. I just want Clay to know that I've done everything I possibly can. He needs to know that.
Michael Sexton there. Maintaining the thousands of kilometres of water mains